My guest is Michael Kleen. He is running for mayor in the city of Rockford as a Republican. How does Mayor Morrissey fall short in your eyes? Obviously, you wouldn't feel a need to become mayor if you felt that Mayor Morrissey was doing a bang-up job here, right?
Well, that's certainly the case. I think that he is certainly a very nice man. I'm not going to say anything against him personally. I've seen him speak at the Rockford Institute recently. Very charismatic guy. I can understand why he has a lot of support. Mm-hmm. And he had a lot of good ideas about the city going in, but I think that he kind of has lost touch. But with the problems that this city has, really we need somebody who's going to be more focused on things like the crime issue. And it seems like, other than playing lip service to it, Mayor Morrissey has not done very much about it. We mentioned earlier the protests against the police shootings, and the way that Morrissey has responded to that, I feel, is just unacceptable. He seems to be blaming the police department for it. He wants to have more sensitivity training, that kind of thing. And that's something that, I just cringe when I hear those statements from the mayor's office. So the mayor should be more supportive of the police department. And I think he should, don't get me wrong, I don't think that the government of the city of Rockford should take a more active role in the local economy, but I think that the mayor himself could take a more active role in promoting a philosophy of a free market here in Rockford, to try to dissuade some of these projects that are going to take public money for the projects. I definitely would not be on board with any of those things.
Do you feel that, I shouldn't say this because you're not in the mayoral seat, but having lived and operated in the state of Illinois for a long time, you know what the fiscal situation of the state is like. Mm-hmm. Aren't mayors hamstrung to some degree by the state woes?
Well, you would think so. We got about, I believe it was an $8 million grant from the state of Illinois to make this river walk. And it seems to me that there are a lot of people who see that grant money, they see it as kind of like manna from heaven, that it just comes out of nowhere. And it seems to me that that money might have been better spent paying the state's bills. So maybe they could have kept Singer Mental Health Center open, So we always want to take care of ourselves first, and we don't think about the bigger picture. So we apply for all these grants. We want to drain money from the general fund from the state of Illinois, and meanwhile the state is going broke. So at some point someone has to say, no, it's not responsible to ask for that money.
One of the interesting aspects of development of a city has to do with transportation. And I heard Sunil Puri give a presentation on this several years ago, and it was almost a blueprint of how he made his fortune, that you can always be assured that people are going to be drawn to the passageways of humankind. And in this case, we're talking about freeways primarily, especially interland situations. And he said, so when the freeway was put out to the east, well, that just opened up all kinds of opportunities to plant business opportunities to the east. And of course, the city has naturally gravitated towards that at the expense of downtown. Mm-hmm. I get a sense from you that you're a pretty good downtown supporter. Am I reading that pretty good?
I do support the downtown, but I want to be careful to say that I think that the city should devote its resources equally among all areas of the city. Especially, we've seen a neglect of the west side of Rockford, and we need to be spending those development dollars equally. So right now we are favoring the downtown, and I think we should be more equitable about the distribution of those resources. But I do enjoy the downtown very much, and I think there are some things we could do to attract more people down here.
Michael Kleen, Republican candidate for mayor of the city of Rockford, is my guest. 815-874-8255. John, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Paul, and good afternoon, Michael.
Oh, good afternoon, John.
It was a thrill when I saw you pop up on Facebook. I said, click, if you like this. I saw Michael Kleen for Republican candidate for mayor. I had to instantly click like.
Well, thank you.
Now, let's see. The proof is going to be in the pudding on this one. Because, Michael, we've got a very large problem also in this area. Besides the crime, we do have a large contingency of illegal aliens in the greater Rockford area. I was wondering what your opinion is about the illegal aliens that we have in the area. Would you do the same as Larry Morrissey and basically turn a blind eye and making Rockford a sanctuary city? Or would you encourage the chief of police, whomever you choose to be chief of police, to maybe crack down on the illegal problem? Because there are certain things on local law enforcement that can be done in holding for ICE agents, etc., holding on to the illegals until they come and get them. So I'm just curious where you stand on the illegal alien problem.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Well, yes, and thank you, and that's a very good question. I wouldn't say I've written a lot about the illegal alien situation in the United States, and I definitely do not want to see Rockford as a sanctuary city. I think that people who come here legally should be welcomed, and should be given the biggest amount of support in the community, and we should want to see them thrive. But people who are going to skirt our laws and who are going to come here illegally, they should not be given sanctuary by the city or any other government agency. Now, do I think that finding illegal aliens in Rockford should be the number one priority in law enforcement? No. I think that can be something that we focus on, especially if we can get more funds for those purposes. But I'm much more worried right now about the violent criminals.
Illegal or not, right?
Yeah, some of whom who are illegal, and if they are, they should be deported immediately. But I am concerned about the home invasions and other crimes of that nature.
Where do you think, because, this can be a sticking point for a lot of people, and it comes down to priorities, but where do you believe monies are being allocated that could be better spent in some of the direction that you're talking about? Speaking of crime and punishment,
Well, I think that the city is spending money on these capital improvement projects, and I do think that money should be spent to fix the roads, obviously, infrastructure concerns, things like that. But I think we need to stop looking into creating whole industries in the downtown. And the city owns a number of abandoned buildings that it's been trying to sell for years. Clearly, we should sell those or tear them down and sell the land. It's attracting crime, it's attracting a negative image to the city. So by, I think, shifting the city's priorities away from some of that spending on these capital projects, spending on these sort of I guess you would call them public works projects like the Whitman Street Bridge and things like that.
Michael Kleen is the Republican candidate for mayor and is my guest. Michael, the demographics of the city, I think, tend to push Democratic. You're on the Republican ticket. Are you paddling upstream here?
Well, that is a perception that I'm hoping to change. And if you actually look at the numbers, what we have is about even Democratic and Republican primary voters. If you look at the number of voters in the Democratic primary and the number in the Republican primary, they're actually about even. There is a massive middle ground. There's a lot of independents in this city, and many of those independents might vote more Democratic. Of course, Winnebago County went blue in this last election quite a bit. But I think there's a lot that the Republican Party can do to reach out to these new voters, to new demographics. One of the things that I would like to do with my campaign is craft a new Republican Party that is more open to people, that wants to get more people involved, people that you wouldn't traditionally associate with the Republican Party. And I think we can build that coalition and be quite successful.